Hi, welcome to the Respiratory System Lab. I'm in Canvas, got the lab page open. I'm going to be using this document here. That's your full lab guide with all the pictures and stuff, as well as this document here, which is just the images of all the models in the PowerPoint, but blank. And then this one we'll talk about when we're done, as well as the quiz. So we'll start with this, and what I'm going to do is just go back and forth between this document and the PowerPoint, and just point out what you need to know on the models, because that's what's going to be on the lab exam. I don't have time to write down all the functions, so you want to read through this so that you have an idea of what functions you need to know. This is the first image you want to study. So if we scroll all the way down, our first activity is the larynx model. So we're going to go through and point out this stuff on the larynx model. You have these two images here to guide you in learning the anatomy on the larynx model here. And I will point this stuff out if that helps. And we'll just leave it small like this rather than going into presenter mode, because it makes it too hard to switch back and forth between things. So this is our model of the larynx. The first thing you want to know is that the glottis is a little bit hard to find. It's this part right here, which I'm trying to color in a bright color with my pen. But that little hole right there, in this view, you can see it easier. It's that hole right there is your glottis. And that's the one part that this image is going to help you with. And then everything else you can find in these two images here. And we'll just go down the list. So this here and here is your epiglottis. And I'm just going to make my pen a little bit bigger. Then you have your tracheal cartilages, are these things down here. That's your tracheal cartilage. Your thyroid cartilage is this whole big thing here. That's all thyroid cartilage, and all of this on the back here and here. Your arytenoid cartilage is these two pieces here. So this is your arytenoid cartilage there, and this piece here, and this little bit down there, that is your cricoid cartilage. Just get rid of all that. In terms of function, your glottis is just your airway. That is what air passes through. Epiglottis is what protects your airway, so when you swallow, this epiglottis folds down here and covers your glottis. Your tracheal and cricoid, so cricoid, tracheal, and thyroid cartilages are all just for, excuse me, I'm getting disorganized here. Those are all just for structural support. So tracheal, thyroid, cricoid, structural support. Your arytenoid cartilage, what that does is I'm going to go to the next picture here. These pointy parts here are attached to your vocal muscles, and you can see the other end here is attached to these two structures here. Those are your vocal cords. So what your vocal muscles do is pull on your arytenoid cartilage and move them out and in, and that increases or decreases the tension on your vocal cords and changes the pitch of your voice. So that is this model here. Then the next thing you need to know, right, is this stuff here. And when we get to this, I want to... now I've got too many things open. Whoops. Sorry, here we go. So that list is here, and it's this model here. If it says not shown, not shown, not shown, don't worry about it. It's not on the quiz, it's not on the lab exam. There's quite a few things on this model that are not shown, so you don't have to worry about them. Just looking at this figure here, we'll go down the list of what is shown. So just this top pointy part here and there, that's your apex. The bottom here and here is your base. The cardiac notch does not show up very well. There should be kind of like a little dent right there in your left lung, which makes more room for your heart. So that's the cardiac notch. The fissures we will show on the next picture, which then, lobes and fissures we'll use the next image for. Then we have not shown, not shown, not shown. And the pleura, if we did ask about the pleura, we would simply just point to the surface of the lung and ask for which layer of the pleura that is, and that would be the visceral layer. Moving on to the lobes and fissures. I took the picture from the side because it's easier to see one of the fissures on the side. So your right lung, which remember is on the left side of the model, has two fissures. This one here is your this is your horizontal fissure. And then this one here, that is your oblique fissure. And then on the left side, you just have one fissure, and that is your left oblique fissure. That then brings us to our next model here, right, which is this stuff here, your alveolar sac model. So if we get back to that, that is here. I'm going to make the picture a little bigger. I think that'll be easier for us. So here's your alveolar sac. So what you need to know first is that this stuff here, that blue, that's hyaline cartilage. If you see hyaline cartilage on something, that is a bronchus. So we are starting with bronchioles, and I'll just tell you right now, don't worry about the difference between a regular bronchiole, a terminal bronchiole, or a respiratory bronchiole. I know it's on your worksheet, but it won't be on the lab exam. So everything from here out to here, that is all bronchiole. And it would be like regular bronchiole, terminal bronchiole, and then when you get down here where you can see there are alveoli, that's the respiratory bronchiole. So each one of these little dotty things, right, those are all your alveoli. This airway here and here, those are your alveolar ducts. So that's all just airways. Everything we've done so far is an airway. Then you have capillaries, which is right. All this stuff here is capillaries. All that texture you can see is capillaries. And then over here, you can see these yellow lines. Those are your elastic fibers. And that should be everything you need to be able to identify on this model. And the elastic fibers functionally just give the lungs elasticity. So you've got A through E is just for air conduction. F, capillaries carry blood. G, elastic fibers make things elastic. Then we've got our histology that we need to know, and that is pretty straightforward. So if you look at this picture here, let me move that up, it's got pretty much everything you need to know on it. But I'm going to use these pictures here and get me out of the way. So here, let me just slow down. Low magnification view of lung tissue looks like this. All of these little air pockets, these are all your alveoli. If you zoom in a little bit more, it looks like this. And you still just have all of your alveoli, all of this stuff out here. Then you have these two larger airways on the, whatever this is, the left and the right. This one here has a piece of hyaline cartilage next to it. So this is hyaline cartilage. Because there is hyaline cartilage reinforcing this airway, this one we call a bronchiole, and, excuse me, that one we call a bronchus. And this one over here, because there's no hyaline cartilage around it, we call a bronchiole. So it'd simply be able to identify alveoli, bronchus, and bronchiole. You know what? And really, that's it for this week. These are all of the pieces of anatomy you need to know how to identify, along with the histology slide. Normally, we would do respiratory volumes, but because we don't have time to actually do the volume measuring in lab, and they're not usually heavily represented on the lab exam, we are not doing respiratory volumes. So all of this you do not have to worry about. So it's pretty straightforward. It's just the trachea model, the larynx model, the lung model, the alveolar sac model, and your histology. Do not forget to look through Practice Anatomy Lab quickly, because that's where your quiz is going to be. It's all the same stuff, it just might look a little different. So peruse that before you take the quiz in Practice Anatomy Lab. And then I just want to show you what the worksheet looks like and how you might want to do it. And so when you click on that, right, it takes you to the actual assignment page. If you have PowerPoint installed on your computer at home, you can use PowerPoint. And then I've changed it up a little bit to maybe make it a little bit easier. I've labeled all the pieces of anatomy with letters, and then if you want to do the homework in, I can't speak today, in PowerPoint, you can just go over here and say the glottis, oh, not shown, so we're not doing glottis. Epiglottis is A, tracheal cartilages, that's this one here, that's E. So you can do the homework in PowerPoint and submit the PowerPoint as your lab homework for the week. Or if you don't have PowerPoint, you can download the PDF. And even if you do have PowerPoint and you don't want to mess around editing the PowerPoint and sending that in, I have also made an answer sheet on Word, which everybody hopefully has Word. And then you would just write in like A, we just did, what did we decide that was? That was like epiglottis. I can't type. I misspelled it, but whatever. So you put your answers in here, you save your Word document, and you send that to me. Or you can copy and paste it into the text box. So when you open this sheet, it should have a text editor down here if you want to copy and paste your answers into there. But that's it. That's lab this week. Pretty straightforward. Stay tuned for more.